Sure.
Okay. So, 1 year, I get this email from Mr. Nagawa, and he says, we want to bring you to Japan. We need a second girl to come with you. Can you suggest anybody? Because they always ask me, bring a girl with you to Japan or bring a girl with you to Mexico, always. And I'm like, all right. So I suggest like a handful of girls I contact, like, you know, they wanted like Trinity or Alexis Lurie, stuff like that. Contact them, they're like, yeah, we're kind of cooking with TNA right now. We don't contact, like, you know, they wanted like Trinity or Alexis Lurie, stuff like that. Contact them, they're like, yeah, we're kind of cooking with TNA right now. We don't want to leave for, this was like a month or, no, I'm sorry, this was another booking, I'm sorry. There's just one show, one big show for A to Z. Big, huge intro show. I said, okay. So I said, the other guy, the agent for Agawa, he says, I contact some of these girls and they never get back to me. If this was a guy, it's so weird. Like, they would jump at the chance to go to Japan. None of them have passports. What's wrong with these girls? I'm like, I don't know. So I contact a couple other girls. He gets in touch with Daphne. After we go through a whole list of chicks,
right?
He gets in touch with Daphne. Daphne's like, I'm going. I'm like, cool. So then Daphne, at that time, was going out to CM Punk. Daphne gets signed to a WWE contract, no deal, and they say, don't go to Japan, you know, we need you down to report to whatever, WWE or Kentucky or whatever. And so Allison was living with, Allison Danger was living with CM Punk, so she says, do you have a passport? Allison's like, yeah. She's like, can you go to Japan like Saturday? Allison's like, yeah. She's like, okay, cool, you got it. So Allison goes over there, and I was with her, and we didn't share rooms, but we were in the same, whatever. Then she does her tag match, and she's all of a sudden Dangerous on. Dangerous on! Anyway, she came back. We had our one match, we got through, we got paid, we left, whatever. It's kind of, anyway. She comes back home, and then all of a sudden it becomes like, I don't know, I think I'm turning Japanese. You know what I mean? So she becomes very, very Japanese all of a sudden. I'm like, alright, you know, everything's like, gaijing this and something san that and everything. I'm like, okay, alright, whatever. Takes it to heart, you know? So, they had told me when we left, they said, you come back next week or next month for a tour. I said, okay. And I was like, what about me? And they're like, no, maybe you put, you know, work on some training and maybe. No. I was like, so I'm staying out of this one, right? And they were doing not very many women's matches. You were there. This was the first time.
Right.
This was my final show. Was the first one back after, you know, in March. And he goes, we're gonna do a little women's match with you and Allison. Very short, 3.5 minutes or whatever. It's basically BJ's gonna run out and powerbomb me through the mat, and it's gonna set up Tracy Brooks and Tracy and Allison and Prophecy and blah 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 blah. Basically, I'm just there to give Allison a reason to be out there already, so that they can go ahead and continue the storyline. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. It's a chance to have a women's match. I only had like 3 or 4. So I said to her, I said, hey, let's see if we can like maybe get the crowd going on this, because I know a lot of people, you know, like crap on the women's matches. It's the piss break time, you know what I mean? So let's see if we can actually get them to say, fuck, I never thought I'd see that in a women's match, or fuck, that was kind of cool, you know, or hey, you know. I said, so maybe some of that stuff you learned in Japan, like she had learned to take German sort of in Japan, and I said, let's do some of the things, you know, you're very, longer story short, every time Allison got in the ring with anybody, she would always come out and complain, Jesus Christ, it's stiff, Jesus Christ, she's stiff. I remember this one girl came all the way down from Canada, who works in Mexico now, drove herself down from Canada to work a Ring of Honor show as a tryout, had a match with Allison, who was very good, and the match turned out pretty decent, and Allison complained she was too stiff and she never came back. She never got to come back at all. It's just, the girl went on to become quite a well-known wrestler in Mexico.
Right.
But it was just like, I was standing right there when she did it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you know, there's my saying, right? I'm like, hey, it's wrestling, not ballet. So we go in there, and I told her, I said, how about this? You know, we're setting up for an angle. She was going to do the neck thing, and when BJ, the ref is with her, BJ comes in, and I said, how about I give you, you know, we do this thing, I give you a German, and then as you know, come up, I'll set you up for that neck breaker off the top. Or you're setting up for it, and I'll take that, and then whatever. She's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, huh? She's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's necessary for American women to take a German and a neck breaker on top of that. It's not needed. We don't have to do that. I'm like, all right, but you will, okay. I'm like, but you wanted to do Japanese style, and Japanese women, a German is nothing. It's just a setup. It's nothing. It's a minor move. You know what I mean? To set something else up. She's like, no. And I don't want to say, I know you're going to sandbag me on the German. You know, she doesn't get off her feet.
Right.
But she did. She sandbagged me on the German. And the whole thing went to shit. It was just crap. You know, she's like, I don't want to take your finish. Your finish isn't established. She's like, basically, you know, I'm in charge of booking the girls here, and who I like or don't like is going to be who gets to work and stuff.
She was never in charge.
She's like, so pretty soon I'm going to have all the say here. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. I said, well, all I want to do is have a good match with you for both of us to get over, for the match to get over, for people to say, hey, that's cool. Maybe we should see some more women's wrestling. And she's like, well, we'll do the best we can. I'm like, all right. So she goes out there, sandbags me on everything. It's the shits. You saw it. It was what it was. You know, I thought for 3.5 minutes we could try. You can't even get blown up in 3.5 minutes, really.
It was 3.5 minutes?
Huh?
It was 3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes, yeah. Minor, nothing hardly in there. Just make it look real, what was there. Came back, Dan Moff says to me, he goes, she just didn't want to take a finish. I'm like, I know. She's like, I have to work later tonight. There's no need for me to take your finish and then work later tonight. Because it was a day show. I'm like, okay. She's like, I don't want to no-sell your finish. That was the whole thing she kept saying. I'm like, okay. So anyway, whatever. I was just like, I just feel that, you know, you didn't want to put me over for whatever reason. You're going over, you're winning. And I was always trained by, you know, at Killer Kowalski's, if somebody's putting you over, you give them their offense. And vice versa. So that's just how I was, you know, if you're going over, you get out of the ring and let them have the ring. It's just certain wrestling etiquette that I was, you know, instilled, and I just felt like it wasn't there, you know. So I told her so. I said, I just feel like you weren't handling that situation very well, and I've been, whatever. So anyway, apparently, you know, she moaned and bitched and whined, and she went and did her show that night and whatever else she did, and then I saw her, I'm hearing through the grapevine she's talking all kinds of mad shit about me. I'm like, you know, over a 3-minute match you're going to talk shit. It didn't go the way it was. Maybe we didn't have chemistry in the ring, whatever it is. I've had a lot of shitty matches. I've been the cause of shitty matches. I don't sit there and talk shit about somebody else or blame it on them or whatever. You know, it's hit or miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people are tired, sometimes they have diarrhea, whatever. You know? Things work sometimes they don't. It's just the way it is, you know? So I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that, I'm hearing that, and then I read an interview.
Are you hearing this?
Hmm?
Oh, God.
I'm hearing this.
Are you hearing this?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? So I'm here, you know, I read an interview, and she's like, she like basically trashed me on the interview, and then I saw her in North Carolina or South Carolina or somewhere. I'm like, so I said, I just walked straight up to her. I'm like, what was the point? I'm like, what is your fucking problem with me? I'm like, what did I do to cause you heat? She's like, she says to me, she goes, you put me in the hospital. You kicked me in the back so hard. You put me in the hospital. I was pissing blood. I'm like, really? So how come I said, how come I never heard about this? How come no one I know heard about this? We have a lot of mutual friends. No one knew about this. And you worked a match that night. I'm like, you're going to sit there and say, I injured you. And no one's heard about this? I'm like, this is weird, huh? I'm like, you don't see someone injured you when they didn't injure you because it's really bad. I said, I've heard, that's one of the things that I'm proud about. I may not be the greatest, but I don't injure people. I'm safe.
Right.
I'm tight, but I'm safe. You know, you come out of the ring with chop marks on your belly.
Oh, boy.
Right.
But you'll be able to work the next day. So that really pissed me off. I'm like, she's like, well, you know what she said? She goes, you're the type of wrestler, you have to get all your shit in. You don't care about anything or anybody. You need to get all your shit in. You need to get yourself over. You don't give a fuck about anybody else. I'm like, who the fuck are you? I'm like, if you knew anything about my matches, half the time I don't even do anything in them, especially if I'm the heel, because I don't know if the person can take my offense, so I just scrap it all because it doesn't fit. My offense might be a kick or a chop. I said, all I do is bump for the babyface. I'm like, fuck you, and fuck your fucking horse you rode in on, you fucking bitch. I'm like, I don't know who you are. I never even really heard your name before or anything like that, okay? You might be, I guess she's a big wig and, you know, but I think for this particular situation, she basically grew up as like a dork, and then all of a sudden got some power. I don't know how she got this power. It's beyond me how people put her in power of booking or whatever. But now she's got power of booking, which is why I don't work certain feds, because she doesn't like real competition, and she's not adult enough to actually put her personal feelings aside for her shitty 3-minute match. Sorry, our shitty 3-minute match. So there you go.
Is there any girls in wrestling like that got into the business that you feel it doesn't deserve to be in the business?